Today I want to pose a question. What makes a game fun? Now, naturally, fun is a pretty subjective term. Even my own idea of fun is different depending on the mood that I'm in. On this channel, I've covered games that don't have much gameplay, but lots of narrative meat to sink your teeth into. I've also covered games that are much lighter on the narrative side and more focused on the moment-to-moment gameplay. I've also covered games that switch things up and engage you in both frantic and relaxing ways. That's something I've always kind of loved about video games, is the vast amount of ways that they can engage the player. But that's a pretty boring answer, right? It depends is a pretty lackluster response to what makes a game fun. But like I said, it's subjective, so let me give you a subjective answer. I've played a lot of games in my short time on this planet, and I generally know what I like and dislike. Sometimes I'll try something out of my wheelhouse and it'll really surprise me, but I can largely look at something like a trailer or a preview and understand if the game will speak to me or not. I mean, that's kind of the point of a trailer, right? And I knew pretty quickly by the first bits of gameplay I saw from Dying Light that it was going to be a game worth my time. I grew up in the era where studios were just starting to look to parkour for new gameplay systems. Assassin's Creed, Mirror's Edge, and Infamous were all games that came out around the time that I started forming my own opinions about video games. And they're all equally important to me in one way or another. I've played a lot more games like them, and a lot of games totally unlike them in the years since, and I do think I have an informed opinion about what my answer to the question is. What makes a game fun? If you're asking me, the answer comes down to movement, and Dying Light has some of the best movement in any video game I've ever played. Let me explain. When most people talk about a Rockstar game, they typically only have nice things to say. When they're not saying something nice, the main thing they're criticizing is the mission structure of their games. Go here, talk to this guy, go somewhere else, talk to this other guy, do some shit, go back to the first guy, get a reward, repeat forever. And since Dying Light is an open world game, it also carries this similar mission structure. Unlike the games made by Rockstar or Ubisoft, the main thing that I think makes Dying Light so different is the way you get around. Driving vehicles is usually your go-to method of traversal in most open world games. It tends to be necessary because these worlds just keep getting bigger and bigger and you need a quick way to go from one place to another. The problem with this is, while it is an efficient method of travel, it just isn't very engaging. Especially in a game like GTA 5, it's so easy to just kind of turn your brain off and just coast along, occasionally tilting your analog stick to make turns or not crash into cars, and just following that waypoint marker and hoping you get there sooner rather than later. But in Dying Light, your method of traversal is hardcore parkour. Don't you fucking dare use that clip from The Office. Dying Light's movement can take a little getting used to. My only experience with first-person parkour before playing this game was Mirror's Edge 1, where you had a finite amount of things you could actually climb on. In Dying Light, every building, every structure, every rock, and every zombie is a part of your jungle gym. When you're going from point A to point B, you are constantly making hundreds of decisions that you probably aren't even aware of. You're not just waiting for the distance on your minimap to get smaller, you are constantly, actively deciding your next move every couple of steps. I think this split-second decision-making is what draws me to games that have movement mechanics like this. Your traversal in other open-world games only exists to get you to the action. In a game like Dying Light, every move you make is the action. This is what I meant by my answer to the question. What makes a game fun? Movement. A truly fun, engaging experience is one where simply controlling your character is a satisfying mechanic. Think Super Mario 64 or Jak and Daxter. Most people probably point to the Insomniac Spider-Man titles as examples of this, but I think Dying Light deserves a spot on the peak right next to it. Although I do think Dying Light does have a little extra sauce to keep it engaging even after a dozen or so hours. When you play a game like Infamous or Spider-Man, you gain experience that is used to upgrade your character. You can earn that experience in lots of different ways and spend it however you want. Dying Light, on the other hand, demands that you earn specific parkour experience that you spend specifically on agility abilities. That's kind of fun to say. Agility ability. Agility ability. The game starts you off with a pretty decent suite of movement abilities from the get-go. Right away, there's basically nothing you cannot climb, but as you earn experience through free running, you unlock more abilities that just make you better at getting around the game world. My personal favorite is the ability to just vault off of any standard zombie to get a big jump, ensuring you are always just one button press away from getting to the safety of a rooftop. But there's also agility abilities that make you more slippery in combat, and of course, there's everyone's favorite agility skill. Oh yeah, that just fucking never gets old. Oh, and if you're wondering what I think about the grappling hook you can unlock, I'm sorry, I actually kinda love it. So many people complained about the grappling hook in this game as if it made parkour absolutely useless, so much so that they changed how it worked in the sequel. And hey, I'm not saying they were wrong, I'm not even saying I hate the grappling hook in the sequel. It simply works differently and has a different utility, and I like that. But I just never really found myself overusing this thing in Dying Light 1. It was good for getting out of sticky situations in a pinch or crossing large gaps with no clear, fast way to do so otherwise. Given the fact that it has a cooldown if you use it twice in quick succession, I honestly thought it was balanced pretty okay. The parkour in this game is immensely fun, and I rarely found myself relying on the grappling hook too much. That said, I acknowledge that I'm in the minority on that opinion, and I don't mind the criticism. I totally get where people are coming from with it. Ultimately, I think the grappling hook is a nice reward for engaging with all the systems in the game, and it only strengthens those comparisons to Spider-Man, which I think is a good thing. It's also borderline necessary for certain bosses in the following DLC, which have hitboxes that are kind of insane, but that's combat. We'll talk more about the combat in a bit. For now, I just want to highlight how engaging this all is. As you run around the game world, you can see the agility experience you earn in real time. You are constantly aware of how close you are to your next upgrade and how quickly you're approaching it, and it encourages you to stick to the rooftops and get creative and risky with your traversal. As if the streets full of flesh-hungry zombies weren't enough. Progressing the story, at least to me, becomes secondary to just keeping my eyes peeled for new opportunities along the rooftops. And since every building you maneuver around typically has interiors or rooftops full of vital resources to collect, you can typically take a quick pit stop anytime you like to see what kind of goodies you can find. Speaking of pit stops, I also played the following DLC for this video. It's more of what's good about the base game, but in a new map that's a vast countryside. Since there's not so much stuff to parkour on, you're instead given a buggy to drive around in. The buggy handles well, and it is great fun that ramming into zombies actually gives you experience points, but you can kind of find yourself taking the exact same routes when you're inevitably driving back and forth from one side of the map to the other, and it's a pretty long drive. I appreciate the DLC trying something new, but it just kind of forces you to do less of the parkour that makes the game's traversal so fun. So much so that my power XP actually caught up with my agility XP when it's typically a few levels below whenever I play. The DLC has enough other things going for it that I don't mind it too much, so I would still say it's a pretty worthwhile addition. After all, you can do this. Ultimately, the way you get around the world of Dying Light is so fun that the overworld map, peppered with tasks to do, doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like just more excuses to throw yourself off buildings and do cool Spider-Man shit, and that's fucking rad. And I do hope you stopped to actually collect some of those resources on your journey, because you're in Zombieland, motherfucker. You can use your parkour to run away, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. When the zombies don't give you a choice, or if you just have some aggression to work out, you are more than welcome to stand your ground and fight. Much like the XP bar for agility, you also have one for power. Agility points are spent on new abilities that let you zip around the map and enemies much easier. Power is for making you a force of nature against your opponents. When you start Dying Light, it can be easy to feel like you are very underpowered. You are literally whacking zombies with rusty pipes and broken planks of wood, and it can feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. This can turn off a lot of players, but it's kind of what I like about the combat in this game. In the beginning, every small group of zombies can feel like a fight for your life. By the end game, you're doing shit like this. Just a little insight into a future video I plan to make. I'm going to be covering Assassin's Creed 3 at some point, and in that video I will probably talk a bit about how you have all these tools to escape, but the combat is so empowering that it's way more fun to just litter the streets of Boston with bodies. In the early hours of Dying Light, running might be a better option in some situations, and the parkour mechanics make it feel fun to do so. It feels less like you're desperately running from a fight, and more like you're expertly evading one, but that's the early hours. Once you unlock a few skills, buy a few good weapons, and put those resources to work upgrading those weapons into ridiculous melee contraptions, all bets are off when a stray zombie gets a lucky hit in. Personally, my greatest enemy in this game are these viral zombies. If you make too much noise or just happen to get noticed by one, they will chase you a surprising distance on foot if you can't lose them on rooftops. In the early game, these guys can be a fucking hassle to deal with because they can tank lots of hits from your meager weapons, and they are the only zombie type that can actually dodge your attacks. Once you hit that late game though... My typical experience with Dying Light is just enjoying the parkour and running from one rooftop to another, minding my business. As soon as I hear the frantic, cracked out screaming of one of these virals, it triggers something in me. Something about these guys just rubs a part of my brain the wrong way. Probably due to the fact that I just want to gather resources, but they just keep f***ing with me. Oh, fine! You want to die that badly? Here! Happy! Die! I am so sorry. I don't know what came over me. Anyway, I'm lightheaded. Anyway, this game's combat feels just as good as the parkour. It might take a while to get there, and it might feel a little jarring if you decide to start a new game and remember just how underpowered you were in those early hours. But like, that's good progress, right? If you haven't started a new game in Dying Light in a while, I think you should, if for no other reason than to see just how far you come by the time you reach the end credits. In much the same way that you go from being a novice freerunner to a parkour master, you also go from being a guy that struggles with a handful of zombies to being a fucking god of destruction. Before creation must come destruction. Hakai! It takes a special kind of guy to make that sort of progress, though. A guy who just finds it fun to pop zombie heads like grapes and climb tall structures. In this game, that guy is Kyle Crane. And I suppose that means it's time to talk about the actual setting that ties all these mechanics together. If I'm being totally honest, the story of Dying Light is not one that is going to blow anyone away. It's there to serve the purpose of giving you objectives and explanations for why you're doing what you're doing, but to me, the plot is secondary to chopping up zombies and jumping off rooftops. That having been said, I do think there are some decent characters to engage with. Real quick, you are Kyle Crane, a GRE agent that is sent to the city of Harran amidst a zombie virus outbreak to retrieve a file for your superiors. The plan goes to shit immediately when you are bitten within seconds of touching solid ground, but you aren't alone. Some of the city's living inhabitants take you in as one of their own, giving you a chance to earn your keep and their dwindling supply of antizin, a drug airdropped into the quarantine zone that keeps the virus at bay temporarily for anyone that's bitten. Your mission quickly begins to change as it becomes clear that these people need a protagonist willing to run around the city doing tasks, and your bosses turn out to be complete assholes that don't care about the human casualties and only want you there to cover up their true involvement with the outbreak. Surprise, surprise. There's also a main antagonist who serves as this game's version of, well, that guy in every goddamn zombie property that uses the outbreak to be a violent sadist who spouts edgy Reddit bullshit to justify being a prick. It's all pretty standard stuff, but that doesn't mean there aren't some bright spots. My personal favorite characters are Tolga and Fatin, twins that have big brains and see everyone as beneath them. You spend your time helping them with their crackpot inventions and, I don't know, there's just something endearing about them.
Gentlemen, I want to know what happened.
It blew up.
It blew up.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Mine? You are insane.
Mine? You are insane.
Yes, of course.
I just love a smart-ass character that's twerpy and isn't aware that his head isn't split open like a watermelon because Kyle Crane's just a nice guy. And that's the second character I want to talk about. Kyle Crane is who you play as in this game, and there's a certain something that makes him really endearing. I think part of it is his voice actor, Roger Craig Smith. You probably know him as Sonic the Hedgehog or Ezio Auditore, but I think his roles as Chris Redfield and Captain America are important for this discussion. Something about his voice just lends itself so well to the Boy Scout archetype.
Thank you, Kyle. I guess one man with a death wish can be a great help to those who just want to live in peace.
I don't have a death wish. I just can't stand bullies.
Kyle Crane is pretty polite and empathetic to all the people he talks to throughout the game, but he's not afraid to be a sarcastic prick to people that he just can't stand. He's happy to help no matter how dangerous the task is or how stupid the reward might be, but he also has a conscience that makes him reluctant to do some of the things that are necessary but definitely not fun.
I've never seen you before. For all I know, you're just some random asshole.
I'll tell you what. How about I break both your legs and drag you through the streets back to Rice's place, huh? And then he can explain to you that you should have cooperated.
Okay. Jesus. You are one of Rice's thugs.
Kareem, it's me. So I just threatened to break an old man's legs.
And it worked, didn't it?
Look, all I want to do is get this over with. What's it gonna take, huh? Don't need to point out how easy it would be to set this entire place on fire.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, Kareem, I made the collection at the ferry station, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell.
Join the club.
I also just love a protagonist that is so done with the antagonist's bullshit by the end.
Do not leave me like this, Crane. Prove you are a man.
Good.
Take your vengeance.
Will you just shut the f up?
Roger Craig Smith imbues this guy with so much sauce that simply did not need to be there. He's serious about his mission, but he's not unfunny. He's willing to do anything for anyone, but he doesn't suffer fools either. There's a reason Dying Light 2's protagonist had a lot of trouble filling Kyle Crane's shoes, and that's because Kyle Crane is just such a fucking Chad. He's a real treat to play as and says things that you are probably thinking in a given cutscene. A real down-to-earth guy trapped in the body of a parkour and zombie-slaying god. You can see similar things in the game's story. The vibe of Dying Light it's kind of a downer. You see a lot of good people die, and the bad guy has the upper hand for a majority of the game. Even when things start looking up and you make the right decisions, there's always some consequence that makes you wonder, is there any fucking joy or whimsy in this world? Jesus Christ.
It's a fucking bite wound. You goddamn stupid fucking kid!
But just when you start to contemplate the folly of mankind, you'll stumble across something like this.
Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Stop it. You asked for it.
Dying Light is a pretty bleak world despite how fun it is to engage with, but it's peppered with all sorts of strange things to find. This is true for the actual story in the game, as you'll see shit like this at the end of a questline. But this also goes doubly true for the one thing I think really separates this game from others of its kind, and to talk about that, I need to make a confession. I fucking love Easter eggs. And Dying Light, if you ask me, is the peak franchise when it comes to Easter eggs. Sometimes when the world seems bleak and your efforts seem like they don't matter, it's nice to be reminded that what you're playing is a video game that is worked on by people who had fun making it. For most games, the developers are completely content to just slap a red balloon near a drainage tunnel and call it an Easter egg. Which, it is, but come on. What would you rather have? A half-assed reference to a movie you like? Or a full in-game recreation of Plants vs. Zombies? Not enough for you? Maybe you prefer an Easter egg that gives you a little something. There are a decent number of spots around the map where you can find little treats that sometimes give you not just a weapon, but a recipe for crafting said weapon should you want to use it again after it breaks. My personal favorites include the Korek Machete, which is literally a developer weapon that is earned by finding this specific toolbox on the roof of a random building that you have to kick for a few minutes before it'll open. And probably the most famous hidden weapon in this game, Excalibur, or EXP Caliber? I'm gonna call it Excalibur. which is stuck on this random rock way out in the water that requires you to hold the button for a couple of minutes to obtain. You would likely never find these weapons on a casual playthrough, and likely only know about them if you follow the various channels on YouTube that cover Easter eggs. But that's what kind of makes them feel so special. It's so fun to me when I realize that a game holds secrets like this. It's like learning a celebrity is in your town, just a few blocks from where you live, and now you gotta go see. That not enough for you? Okay, fine. How about this in-game recreation of a level from Super Mario Bros. That also gives you a recipe for a Tanuki suit? F you. But okay, I get it, I see you. Maybe you're more of a myth hunter. Maybe you scour Reddit for Easter eggs and actively keep up with things like the Chiliad mystery from GTA 5 or the Spider Dream mystery from Red Dead 2. I got you. If you're really hankering for a COD Zombies level Easter egg, you'll be delighted to see that the following DLC for this game has strange rocks peppered around the map that you can slot into this very specific strange symbol hidden in the attic of a house, and finding them all gives you this.
Mr. Doctor. Doctor.
Hello, mister. Whoa, hello. What you got inside? Yes, hello.
Doctor.
I fucking love UFO Easter eggs in video games, and this is one of my favorites. There are other Easter eggs to find, like this one that might be a reference to the clickers from The Last of Us, and this one that lets you do the nuclear option for the following DLC way earlier than intended. And that's just scratching the surface. Dying Light 2 and Dying Light the Beast have their own swath of Easter eggs to find, but I'll cover those in later videos maybe. For now, I just want to say that I adore when games do this kind of thing. It just gives me a feeling like I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to, like these eggs are personal messages from the developers directly to the player. Mostly, I think it just shows that the developers had fun while making the game. If they had the time to slip these in, then it's probably a really chill and cool place to work. Hire me, Techland. I'm not good at shit, but I'm like an ideas guy. Anyways, you can add fun Easter eggs to the laundry list of reasons why I love this game. Put it somewhere between engaging movement mechanics that make getting from task to task a fun side quest of its own, and combat that is as satisfyingly crunchy as it is delightful to master. Dying Light is a once-in-a-generation game that combines a lot of fun mechanics you can find in other games and does it even better than they do. It's got the parkour of Mirror's Edge smashed together with the zombie hordes and melee combat of Dead Island. It's got Chris Redfield holding your hand through this bleak wasteland and Easter eggs that make other devs wish they worked at Techland instead. It's the video gamiest video game to ever video game outside of Video Game Town. It has all the fun trappings of something you'd find in a passionate indie game with a AAA coat of paint. It's one of my all-time favorite video game franchises not tied to a decades-old franchise or pre-existing IP, and I hope there's even more Dying Light on the horizon. What makes a video game fun? Well, I think there's a good chance that the developers having fun making it is a pretty good indicator of how fun it is to play. And Dying Light proves with every broken body, every zombie vault, and every silly Easter egg that Techland had a blast making this game. And I had a fucking blast playing it. And I sincerely hope you do too if you haven't played it already. Just make sure to look before you leap. Good night, and good luck.
Did you find her? Were you able to help her?
She has peace now.